take first question on the front here on your left.
Hi, Coach. Ari Aguiar from ESPN Brazil. I want to talk with you about Jayson Tatum. Jayson already scored 50 points in a playoff game, and he's capable of doing that at any time. In the first game, Porzingis said what he did only because of Jayson Tatum. Holiday said the same thing in game 2. My question is, do you think that we are watching the best version of Jayson Tatum in these finals?
Yeah, I think it's pretty close. I think because of the type of player that he is, it's always going to look different because of his versatility. And you live in America or Brazil?
I live in Brazil.
Well, that's probably why you asked that question, and none of the American ones did, because they look at the lens differently of basketball. And so in America, nothing's ever good enough, and it's always about what can you do for me right now. And it's not always the case in this situation. So, yes, I think we are, and I think he's only going to get better. And he makes greatness look easy because of his ability to impact the game in many different ways. And he's just going to continue to get better and better and better. And it's an honor to coach him.
Standing on your right, Tim.
A couple things, Joe.
Did you like that one?
I did like that one a lot. Yeah, I smiled. I look at the game, I think, in a decent way.
Yeah.
You guys just put out a very long release about Kristaps, who has this issue with his left leg. You also look like you tweaked his right leg. I saw him walking in before. I know he's listed as day-to-day.
Yeah.
Sort of what is the procedure for the next 24 hours? He's just getting treatment, and you'll see where he's at as of tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, he's doing anything and everything he can to be ready for the game tomorrow. It's a serious injury, and at the end of the day, our team and the medical team is not going to put him in any bad situations. And so we've taken a decision to play out of his hands because the importance of him. And so he's going to do everything he can to play, and then we're going to leave it up to our medical team, and that's really it.
And separately, Jaylen has talked a lot this year about the pride he's put into playing at the defensive end and taking on big challenges throughout the season. He's obviously guarded a lot of the elite guys. He spent a lot of time on Luka in this series. His teammates have talked about the way he's approached that. How have you seen him over the past couple of years really grow at that end of the court, and how important is it for you guys to have him covering and picking up Luka 90 feet from the basket, trying to wear his energy out, and then still being able to give you a lot at the other end?
Yeah, listen, I think the growth of him as a player has been like not being defined by one thing. And, when you have your superstar players know what it takes to win, and they're willing to take that on. So sometimes it's scoring, sometimes it's defense, sometimes it's rebounding, sometimes it's passing, sometimes it's executing. And I think one of the major growths of Jaylen's game is he'll do whatever it takes to win. And that could change each game, that could change each series, and he's doing that. Hi.
Hi, Coach. A two-part question. Sunday's Father's Day. What would your dad say to you 2 games away from winning a championship as the head coach? 1, and then 2, talk a little bit about how your faith has guided you throughout these past couple of years and how you lean on it to coach.
What he would say? He would say focus on the details, focus on the fundamentals. The closer you are to winning, the easier it is to become distracted by things that you can't control and things that don't matter. And here are the things that matter, and you got to fight like hell to accomplish those things with simplicity, with discipline, and mental toughness. Everything he talked about was about your mindset and about your mental toughness, and that's what separates you. And thank you for asking the second question. I think it's the most important thing. I think the ability to handle the ebbs and flows, the humility to understand that there's a plan that's much bigger than just who you are individually, and having an impact on other people, and then using the gifts that God has given you to try to impact those people. So it's my anchor, and it's been the most important thing, and I've enjoyed just the challenge of having to stick with that, and even when it's difficult at times.
Standing on your left, Tim.
Joe, Kyrie obviously hasn't scored with the efficiency that we're used to seeing from him. When you look at the job that you guys have done defensively against him, how do you evaluate that?
I think he's missed some easy shots. I think, I expect him obviously to be even more aggressive and to fight to get those shots. The most important thing is just being detailed in individual defense. It's not about shutting him down. It's about just making it difficult for him because of his ability to impact plays. And so we just have to fight for that. He's gotten some good looks. I think we have to guard him better. I think, he's definitely going to be more aggressive. We got to be better in our individual defense. We got to be better in our team defense. We got to be better in our details.
left side on the aisle, fifth.
Joe over here. Was curious about, when you watch players from afar and then you actually get them in your midst. So what have you learned and enjoyed the most about Drew Holiday that you saw from afar, and now that you have him with you, like what have you found out even more about him?
I'd say the biggest thing is like when you get someone and you realize that everything everybody says about him is true. That's probably one of the ultimate compliments that you can get is like your character is what it is. It's what you say that it is. It's what other people say that it is. It's people that have noticed things. So I'd say that like everything everyone said about him when we first got him, it's been even better. And just the type of person that he is, his humility, his competitive nature, the way he treats his family, the way he treats his teammates, how hard he plays, and just his willingness to do everything.
Bobby on your right.
Bobby Manning, CLNS Media. Joe, did you see what happened when Kristaps got hurt in that second half, and what was the kind of the communication like with him over the last day here? You said he wants to be out there, he wants to push the play, but it can be out of his hands. What's kind of that communication like with him over the last day here?
Yeah, I didn't see it, and it is out of his hands. Yeah, it's his job to fight like hell to put himself in the best possible position to feel as good as he can, but we're not going to let him compromise himself, and so that's really been it. It's just to say, hey, like, we need you. Do everything you can, but at the end of the day, we got your back, and we're going to make sure we put you in the best position possible.
How likely is it that he'll go tomorrow?
I have no idea.
Sierra on the left side, and then Gary, last two.
Hey, Joe, Sierra Sohi from The Ringer. I've got two for you. The first is, I've heard you talk about how you want guys taking certain shots so you guys have good spacing in transition on the other end, and the way you sort of see the game is sometimes being like soccer. I know Tatum sometimes gets criticized for taking, pull-up threes above the break. There was one where it turned into a Drew Holiday rebound. I think it was in the third quarter. Is that sort of an example of what you're looking for in those positions where it's just like take the good shot, don't risk it? And if so, is that like where did that way of seeing the game come from?
Yeah, criticism's the ultimate beauty, and it's just a sign of ultimate respect, and it's just a beautiful thing. So I really love the way Jason's handled that, and it's just a testament to who he is. And shot selection's all about timing. It just depends on the time and score, depends on the spacing, depends on the type of shot the type of play we ran to get the shot that we want. So nobody knows what's a good shot and what's not, except the people in our locker room, because those are the ones that we talk about every single day, and we know how important shot selection is. And I think the greatest strength of our team is they fight to take the right shot every single time down the floor. And they know what a right shot is, and they know the importance of how the shot will impact your defense. It will impact your offense. And so on that particular shot, that was a good shot because we were in offensive rebounding position. The floor was balanced. We had the matchup that we wanted, and it allowed us to do both, to offensive rebound and to get back in transition. Mm-hmm. And I think you just try to learn. You try to look at different lenses. I think everybody tries to look at the game the same way. So the more you can look at it from a completely different spectrum, it allows you to build connections. It allows you to really focus on the things where games are really won and lost, and not on the stuff that's easy to notice. I think everyone notices the easy things. It's can you fight to notice the things that other people aren't, because that's where winning and losing is in that space.
And the other thing is Sam Hauser said that he noticed that you kind of like you've cited, I think, killer whales and how they handle their prey. And you've also said that orcas are your favorite animal. I'm wondering if you could elaborate on how that...
You just try to use different things to keep the guys engaged. It's a long year. If you keep talking to them about game plans, it can get stagnant. And so you just try to build connections. You just figure out what's one thing that can grab the guy's attention for an extra 10 seconds, something outside of basketball that you think can just hammer home a point. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing, is just making sure you get through to your guys so they listen.
Gary, last question in the middle.
Joe, Gary Walsh, Boston Globe. What kind of bond have you established with Drew? You guys are more like peers, close to the same age, and the sharing of faith. I mean, what have you learned from him this year, and what did you not? You had any relationship with all before he got here, and how have you bonded with him?
Yeah, I try to be like peers with all of our guys, just because the age gap is relatively there, so I try to have a peer-like relationship with all of them, and then with each guy it's different, because you can break down different barriers: who's married, who has kids, whose faith is important. Sometimes it's not for people, so you connect differently. I've always had an interesting relationship with Drew because we share the same app, the Hallow app, and before I met him, he was actually on there. And so I would listen to his prayers. I would listen to so I got to know his heart. And then I coached him in the All-Star game, and so I always had this spiritual connection that we would end up in the same area at some point. So I kind of felt like I knew him before I knew him, just because of the way he prays and how he I knew his heart. So and then our relationship now is sometimes we talk to each other, sometimes we don't, sometimes we just give a head nod, sometimes I see his wife, I give him a hug, he sees my wife, give him a hug, and that's it.
Thank you, Coach.
Hey, I got a question. Who do you think had the hardest adjustment to the media and the criticism? Because like the lens with which Brazilian soccer players are looked at is very similar to how American athletes are looked at by their media, right? And you look at where Neymar has been over his time and like taking on the number 10 and the number 9, like who do you think has dealt with the most, and how do you think that they've handled it? Because I feel like playing for the Celtics and representing the country of Brazil for its national soccer team, and then now you see Enric coming up, and like he's going to face that soon. So like, how do you think that's handled in your country?
You're talking about football, okay? I just want to see if I got you right. I think Neymar has handled the most pressure lately, but because we had a lack of idols. Most recently, if we were back in 2002, we had Ronaldo, we had Ronaldinho, we had Rivaldo, we had a great national team. And this talent has went down for the years, and Neymar has surged like a huge talent.
Yes.
And we put a lot of expectations in him that he can deliver to us another World Cup. Yeah. So I don't think it's pretty fair to him what we did.
I agree. I would say the same thing for Tatum.
Yeah.
It's like, also, like, he's probably the first number 10 to take on the weight of Brazil since the social media era. Like, right? Like, that was like who before Neymar was involved in that social media area. And it's like, he's so good, everything you do can be taken for granted. Like, when he won the gold medal by making the game-winning penalty kick, you would have thought that would have solidified it, but it hasn't, right? So, like, I think that's you ask an interesting question, because I think the guys that we're around share in that same burden of having to handle, the responsibility that they have to move it forward for what they do, and it's an ultimate gift. But I agree that it's probably Neymar, right?
Yeah. Most recently, yes.
Yeah.
And I have a particular opinion about, but I have to see the general thing about it, about Neymar.
Yeah.
Because I don't agree of a lot of his actions outside the field.
But I don't know him. All I know is the soccer player.
Yeah. So if we just focus in the soccer player, and I don't think that's fair.
Don't get me into the coaches. I mean, don't get me into the football coaches, right? I mean, that's like an impossible job.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
It's a huge country. We love football. We love soccer, and it's our sport. We were always good at. So it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And most recently, the results were so badly that the pressure is just rising.
Yeah, you got to study. I mean, I study that a lot because I think we're in a similar environment here as to how to handle all of that,
The Boston Celtics probably is just, for the basketball, is just that great as Brazil as a national soccer team. So it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
And I know you love soccer.
Yes.
And I know you like Guardiola.
Yeah.
And I know you stole some things from his thoughts.
Yeah, none of us are that good. We steal from everybody.
Thank you, Coach. Take questions for Jayson. First one, third row here.
Hey, Jayson. Blake Elliott, 105.3 The Fan. There's been a lot of talk about your game outside extracurricular. How good or how difficult is it to kind of block all that out and just be on the court and just kind of play your game?
It's a learned experience. Over time, you learn how to deal with all the extra noise and attention, whether it's positive or not so positive. And, I'm a fair, smart person. I know when I'm doing things at a high level. I know when I need to do certain things better. So I'm not like oblivious to what's going on, but at the same time, just keeping the main thing and focusing on trying to win the next game. That's what's most important at this time.
Joey Mazzulla with Clutch Points. I wanted to ask just about Kyrie, and he's a great player. He's had some struggles in the series. What do you think you guys are doing well against him, and do you think he's just missing open shots?
That's part of it, right? You never completely shut a guy as talented as him out. And you've heard it a million times. With great players, you just try to make things difficult, show them different coverages, just want to make them work for everything. They're going to make shots. They're going to miss some shots. You just don't want it to be easy for them to be comfortable. And that's what, any talented player.
Tim here on the left.
Jason, Tim Reynolds with the AP. Two things, if I might. The first one, Matthew Tkachuk is watching a lot of the NBA Finals. He said he's 2 wins away, you're 2 wins away. How much have you followed what they've been doing?
Yeah, I'm a big Matthew fan, right? People know that we went to school together. And I watched him win last night, trying to learn and understand the rules in the game of hockey more and more. But, I got to watch the game last night and they won. So, like I said, I'm extremely happy for him and his family, and hopefully they win it all.
The other thing, it's only 2 games in the finals. And like the first question alluded to, there's all this talk about your shooting numbers. How much would that have bothered you when you were younger? Because you're up 2-0 and you're averaging pretty close to a triple-double. I know it's just the 2 games, but it's not like you're playing poorly. How much does the fixation on just one number, how much does that bother you, and how much have you learned to just not worry about that stuff so much?
Yeah, I think being in the finals 2 years ago has helped me in this moment. And like I said, I understand that I do need to be more efficient. I do need to shoot the ball better. I would not disagree with anybody on that. But I'm not letting it bother me, right? I'm still trying to find ways to impact the game and dominate the game in other areas. And I understand that it could take one game. One game I could explode and, all those, the percentage and things like that could change. So it's just that mindset of, I'm one game away or whatever that means. But like I said the other day, I know what it's like to be in this position and lose. And, just this time around trying to do any and everything possible to have a different outcome. So yes, I know I need to shoot the ball better, and I plan on it, but not letting that affect everything else that I need to do on the court to help us win.
Sam, standing over on the left.
Sam Amick, The Athletic. Jason, your coach just had a fascinating discussion with this gentleman in the front row from Brazil, essentially comparing you to Neymar and the idea that superstars get scrutiny and he thinks a lot of it is unfair. Does that mean a lot to you? And behind the scenes, have you guys had those kind of talks where you contextualize the spotlight component of your experience?
Yeah, and that's one thing I truly do appreciate Joe, aside from being, I think, an excellent coach, is that I truly do believe that he cares about us, our team as individuals, and obviously myself, the conversations that we have, and he always, through the season, the summertime, and obviously through this postseason, have had days where he's called me into his office, and not necessarily talk about X's and O's, but check on me as a person, and how I'm dealing with everything, and that does mean a lot for somebody to take time out of his day to show that compassion or whatever, and just know that he's there for me. That relationship between yourself and the coach is important, and that's something I truly value about the relationship that me and Joe have.
Tim, standing on the left.
On a very different note, Jaylen's talked a lot this year about the pride he's put into the defensive end of the court and taking on big challenges throughout the season. How have you seen him over the time you've been together really grow at that end of the court, and how much has it helped you guys to have him be big in physical enough to take Luka on 90 feet from the basket, make him work, try to take as much energy out of him as he can throughout the course of the game.
Yeah, and that's just another thing. I think Joe always challenges, in particular me and JB, of finding different ways to affect the game. And I think JB has taken that up another notch of his conditioning and his ability to essentially chase down and guard guys, like you said, 90 feet from the basket. And that's just another way that, obviously besides his scoring and things like that, that he can positively impact the game, that gives us the best chance to win.
On your right, second row.
Lawrence Dow, Forward Star Telegram. Can you talk about the impact Kristaps Porzingis has had on both ends? And I know you guys have already played games without him, but how will this team have to adjust to playing this Mavs team if he's unavailable to go for Game 3?
Yeah, we're just so much of a better team when we have him. 7'4" unicorn, right? He's as talented as they come. Presents so many matchup problems on the offensive end, and then on the defensive end, right? That somebody that can affect shots, protect the rim as well as he does. So yes, we've had success and found ways to win without him, and obviously we're better when he's on the team, when he's out there playing with us. So obviously he's day to day and doing everything he can to get out there and give us whatever he can.
Last question, Jared on the left.
Back to your shooting. You've come along so much as a playmaker and game manager these last few years. Has it been freeing for you, especially like freeing you from really the pressure you put on yourself, that you don't need to rely on scoring efficiently to make a major impact on the game?
Yeah, I don't want to put us in a predicament where it's like I'm shooting, not as well and still like, oh, we can win. Like I want to shoot the ball well. But, I feel like I just keep saying it that's not the only thing that, I bring to the table, and not being defined by that. Where earlier in my career, I was just a score the ball and rebound type of guy. And, how much I've grown and developed and as a player and reading the game and understanding what the defense is trying to take away, what they're giving up. And there's such a long season that you're not going to make every shot. You're not going to shoot as well as you would like to. But, the guys that I've studied and the best of the best players have always just found a way. And, that's just all I've been trying to do, is just find a way to do whatever I can.
Thank you, Jayson. Go.
Hi, Jaylen. Good afternoon. Ari Aguiar from ESPN Brazil. I don't want you to get me wrong, okay? But it's obviously that you wanted to win all the other playoff games that you played. But I want to know, in this particular postseason, we watch your eyes and we see more hunger for the victory. I want to know if you agree with this thought, and do you see yourself a different player in this regard compared to the other postseasons that you played?
You could say that. I like to pride myself is that I always try to play with that fire and that passion. I feel like, and that's what, makes me who I am, the essence of why I play and how I play. But, my experiences, the heartbreaks, the loss have all, kind of cultivated into what you see now. And, I don't want to feel that again. So I think that's fair to say.
Fifth row on the left.
Kevin Gray, Mavs Radio Network. Jaylen, you guys have talked about the sacrifice that it's taken to get back to this position. What has that taught you about how you guys have been able to operate in this postseason to be at the level that you guys are playing at right now? What has that sacrifice meant to you personally as you've been able to move and navigate this postseason?
It's been fun. Personally, I think it's been necessary. I think anytime you want to achieve something great, it's going to take a little bit of sacrifice from every individual to get to where you want to go. So me going into this season, I knew that being one of the leaders that, that would be on my in front of me on my plate. So I didn't mind it, and it's translated into us being here in the finals. So sacrifice is necessary, not just in sports, but in life if you want to achieve a goal to some degree.
Third row.
Blake Elliott, 105.3 The Fan. Jaylen, teams that go up 2-0 go on in the finals, go up to win the series 86% of the time. How do you kind of keep the focus and kind of keep your foot on the gas and not look ahead to the end of the series and stay hungry for Game 3?
For me, it's different for every individual, but for me, it's almost like you got to trick your mind, almost in a sense, like you almost got to play like you down 0-2 rather than up. And that's hard to do, but like you got to go into that mind frame, that focus is like, nah, we are playing like that, rather than you let comfort, you let some of those things kind of seep in. So you just try to stay focused and try to harness the mind as much as you can, because the mind is a powerful thing, and it's hard to grasp, some of those things as you are in taking them. But if you can kind of focus your mind on what you wanted to focus on, you'll be surprised at what you can do.
Gary in the front.
Jay and Gary Washington, Boston Globe. How have you bonded after playing against him for so many years? How have you bonded with Drew? It seems like it's been a perfect fit. He's been the consummate teammate. He's a player that seemingly has no enemies around the league, no adversaries. No one has a negative word to say about him. I mean, how have you bonded with him this season, and how have you gotten to know him?
Gotten to know Drew a lot. Drew isn't like I described it in the beginning of the season. He's like an assassin. Like, he just has a will and a might about him, how he plays, that he'll die on the battlefield. And I'm the same. So you recognize that and you respect that. Like, his will is unbreakable. He's gonna show up. He's gonna be there. He's gonna be in the fight with you. And I've been against him on the other side, so you could feel it. You could feel like this dude's not going anywhere. So I think that's where the respect for me and him, just being opponents. But now him being on the same team has been an honor. It's been an honor to be his teammate, just because of how he carries himself, his willingness to sacrifice, his willingness to adapt, and then be successful to what he's adapting to. Like, for example, this year was different for him for last year, but he's like mastered being a corner three-point shooter. Like, he wasn't that at any other point in his career, but he took the role on this new team and developed into almost a new player. And I think I don't overlook stuff like that. I think those are forms of greatness, even though, we expect greatness to be like these things that are so large or, so captivating, but stuff like that doesn't go unnoticed to guys like me. And it's been an honor to be his teammate.
Right here in the front.
Keontae George, NBA player, correspondent. Obviously you've been in this position before. I just want to, ask, how are you able to, keep the, team camaraderie, while adding, a couple high-level guys from last team and coming here, and how are you able to, is it you that's getting them to buy in, or is it almost like a group collective thing to just, everybody throw something in the middle?
For sure. So team camaraderie, and you're going to experience this. It's probably the hardest thing to gain in the NBA. Got a bunch of guys, bunch of egos, guys, agents telling them one thing, they feel another way. So having everybody on the same page is probably going to be the hardest thing you're going to be trying to experience throughout your career. I think it always starts from the top. Like, you look at the top guys. So with me and JT, we've been here the longest, and we set the tone from the jump. And everybody else kind of has to follow along. And that's kind of was worked for us. But every locker room, every organization is a little different, and you got to figure out how to get your team into that same vibe. But it's hard enough to get two people on the same page. Trying to get 12 or 15 all the way bought in is going to be some challenges. But, you know, that's where leadership step in. As you develop as a leader, those are type of things that you learn. You improve, you build relationships with guys. You talk to guys on the court, off the court, they start to trust you. And that's how you start to build, you know, some of those good habits. But it don't happen overnight, I tell you that.
Last two questions, standing on your left.
Okay, back here, Jaylen. When you first learned that there was going to be some uncertainty about KP's status, you know, marking him as day-to-day, what was your reaction to learning that? And does anything about that uncertainty change the way that you prepare, that you guys go about getting ready? Or is it sort of same old, same old?
Same old, same old. KP has been tremendous for our group, not just in the playoffs, but all season long. And it's obviously like him on the floor just helps elevate us to a different level. But we've been priding ourselves on next man up mentality. We prepare for these moments to be able to play with and without anyone. So it'll just require somebody else on our team to step up and everybody to buy in to get a full team victory.
Last question, standing on the left.
Hey, Jaylen. Aurelia for the German Basket magazine. With the finals, there comes so much talking, all the comparison, all that stuff. How do you stay focused on keeping up the joy of, you know, playing basketball, that you're actually in the position to play the game because you love it so much? So how do you keep the focus on that with all the other stuff around?
How do I keep the focus? That's a great question. How do I keep the joy? Honestly, you know, just the relationships, the experiences that you have with your teammates, the growth is kind of what brings the joy out. You know, like it's like the testimony, just seeing where we were to where we are now, and like that journey to get there is like, it's been, that has the joy. I mean, that's where it comes from. It's like just being in those valleys, and now you get into the mountaintops. It just, that's what brings that feeling. And I feel like we're climbing. We're not there yet. But when we get there, all the stuff that's happened before is going to be appreciated in those moments.